Wait, before we begin though, like you've never done any podcasts
No.
for any of this stuff.
No.
Which is do you think it's because New Hampshire doesn't have like a lot of podcasts and those kind of outlets?
I think so. And I think that around the time that child marriage, like that was being talked about, there weren't many podcasts out yet, talking about the tough issues. I think it was everybody's doing podcasts. Started with like the pandemic and everything. They're like, oh, I'm at home. Want to do something. Oh, let's start a podcast. And
what about around the nation? Did anybody contact you to be on like their show?
A couple, like I have one recently that were like, oh, we're trying to do like a podcast where you would like host with someone else, and they haven't really gotten it off the ground yet, but it's mostly just TV, news articles, things like that.
That's interesting. I didn't know if like any like political streamers or anybody was like, hey, let's get on a Discord call and talk about child marriage. So that's interesting that it was, because to me, child marriage is huge. And I think to a lot of people it is.
Yeah.
Before we jump too far into it though, I want to ask you, I want to go back to 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I moved in to Barrington, and I start seeing signs later on that year because it's an election year.
Yeah.
And your name's all over. You're 18.
19.
Right? 19. Either way, super young.
Yes.
Like, and you put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
What made you do that?
I wanted to give a voice to people from Barrington, to the New Hampshire State House, especially young people. At the time, it wasn't many young people getting into politics.
Yeah,
Like
say the least.
Very few. And the few of us that did get involved, it was kind of like, oh, what are they going to do, And it was just me and one other person. I think I'm older by like a few weeks from him. And so it was just very new. So a lot of the state reps, I had their respect because of the child marriage stuff, because they see me testifying and everything. So I would have their respect already. So a lot of them are waiting for me to see what I would do.
What prompts you to say, I'm going to run for state rep? Because at 19, I could think of like probably a million things that you'd rather do.
Yeah. It was a very last minute decision, actually. It was because Barrington, the town, closes on Friday. So it was like that Thursday, and it was the last Thursday we could sign up. So I was just like, I don't know, I'm going back and forth. I'm getting a lot of like, I call it like peer pressure jokingly, because when you say, oh, I might get involved, everybody's just like, oh, you got to do it, in New Hampshire. So like,
yeah,
you get contacted by people the moment that like you're even say like, maybe I will run. All of a sudden, like people come and we're like, I want to meet with you. I want to have coffee to talk about it. And so that Thursday, me and my parents were just heading up to like Rochester or something, so passing the town hall, and I was just like, I think I'll run. Maybe I should sign up. My dad had to run back like 20 minutes to the house and back, so 40 minutes back to and from our house to the town hall, so that way I could have my ID and everything, and we paid for it, and then I just signed up.
Do you think at that point you have a shot at this, or like how big is the hill in front of you?
It was huge. It looked huge, and a lot of it was just very intimidating because I did not know how to start a campaign. I didn't know what I needed to do or anything, so it was just, okay, now I did this.
Yeah,
and it's very intimidating, especially from someone who doesn't like asking people for money. I still don't like asking people for money.
It's always a feel bad.
Yeah. It's always like, what people are going through.
Yeah.
You know that it's a hard time for people because they're having to spend money on taxes and everything else. So it's like, I really don't want to ask people for money.
Right.
And that's all they're pushing. It's just like, oh, ask relatives. Oh, ask your friends. Oh, I'm like, I can't. I really can't do it. So.
I ran into the same thing.
Yeah.
Literally, when we ran together, that was your third term. You were finishing your third term, going into your fourth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody was like, oh, just hit up your friends and stuff. Like, I wouldn't hit up my friends normally for $20 for beer and never mind, like, hey, but I did find that people were pretty supportive. They were like, yeah, I'll pitch in on that. Did you feel the same? Was it?
Yeah, I felt the same. I feel like people that wanted to give money, they'll give you money. I would still have people being like, oh, I want to support you in your campaign, and then do it through Act Blue. And that's why I'd have like the QR code on my thing, because I'm like, I'm not going to ask you for money, but here it is if you want to pay. Like,
right. Here it is, simple. Drop it off if you want.
Yeah.
How many people did you have trying to convince you not to run?
None.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? What about when you knocked on doors? Did anybody be like, I'm not voting for you, you shouldn't run? Anything like that? No. Really? No. 2018 feels like a very special time when you go back there, because the state hadn't quite moved as far red. Like, even though the Free Staters had already like taken hold.
Yeah, it still wasn't as bad as it is now.
Yeah, like now people are hurting more. People are more like, who are you? And very standoffish.
Yeah, I feel like with people from New Hampshire are very standoffish as it is, because we're very like, oh, we'll help each other out, but it's like, don't get too close to my house,
Yeah. Be like, you stay over there on your side, I'll stay over on mine. We're good.
But like super friendly at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was just, door knocking was very intimidating, because I'm like, I'm going to places that I've lived in Barrington my whole life. Like, I grew up in Barrington, and there were some roads where I'm like, what road is this?
That is true. You learn about your community and where everybody lives real fast.
Yes. And when they added Strafford, it was a whole new community that I had to reach out to.
And that's a community that's a little, like, if you're a Democrat, do not show up.
There was one road where it was like 3 Republicans, and then at the end of the road, which is like a dead end, had the house at the very dead end, was a Democrat.
Oh my God, just buried into an alleyway of Republicans.
Yeah, and that kind of like summed up Strafford. It was like, they're in there, they're just hidden because a lot of the Republicans are more outspoken. And, Democrats, we're very reserved in some ways.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, we don't want to speak out, but it's like, sometimes we got to speak out.
Yeah, I don't want to bother people, like, I just want them to just do their thing.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like, campaigning and stuff, it was just, a lot of people supported me because I was so young. They're like, oh yeah, let's get her in, and a lot of people, I grew up here. So it was teachers, it was kids' parents that I went to school with, and all of that. So
that's fascinating. And like I said earlier, 4 terms. Mm-hmm. That must have been quite, I don't know what the word, maybe the journey.
Yeah.
Because every 2 years here, we have to run for office. And each time it seems like it gets ratcheted up just a little bit more crazy since 2018 to now.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine being 19 walking and talking to people at their doors around here. But I mean, you won.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. Were you the youngest person ever elected?
I was the 3rd youngest female to be elected in the New Hampshire State House history.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You basically grew up there as a young adult.
Mm-hmm.
Did that influence you at all? Like, how do you think being around all those older people influenced you is probably the better question.
They definitely influenced me in a positive way, to where it was seeing what they went through and, the experience they've had and everything, kind of like I would have them talk to me about like their life and what it was like, and just seeing all different people coming from all different walks of life, just coming together and like sharing their experiences is really awesome. So I would have them, a lot of them saw me as like a daughter or a granddaughter. So it was awesome, and it was so nice, and people like welcomed me. I even had during one of the late night sessions, they brought in like food and like ice cream. So the food was in like one office, and then the ice cream was in the other. So I grabbed the food, went for the ice cream, and one of the people in there that sit next to me at the time, she was just like, did you eat food before you're getting your ice cream? And I was just like, yes. talking to a kid, like having dessert before you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though I'm an adult, it's like, yeah, yes, I did.
I feel like people don't treat young people as an adult until like 25, right? Until you start showing your age a little bit.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Like even a little bit, like when I was like 2021, it was very interesting because growing up basically in the state house, because went around the state house since I was like 15, 16 years old.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, this was something you're primed for. You're like, I'm gonna go and do this. Really?
It was that's when I started the child marriage stuff. That's when I started going and testifying was around when I was 15, 16.
That has to be very stressful.
It can be very intimidating when you're on the other side of the desk. But when you're sitting behind the desk in those big fancy chairs, it's like, oh, okay, we're not, too bad of people, we're just the same. And you kind of get like a new perspective of being on like both sides.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anybody that like is testifying, they're like, I need some advice. I don't know what to do. And I'm always happy to give advice because I was there. It's intimidating. It's scary. It's your anxiety's like boosted because you're like, these are elected officials, not realizing that they're people too. It's good, but also kind of like intimidating at the same time where you're like, can I do it? Can I testify in front of these people? Will they listen to me? Will they not listen to me?
Yeah. Were you able to make that transition fast?
Yeah.
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 Probably. I think when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of reservations. I didn't have a lot of shyness. I didn't have a lot of shame. I just kind of like did my thing. I didn't care. Much like a 3-year-old or whatever. You're just like whatever, and you're just kind of doing whatever you want.
Yeah.
But then as you get older,
you kind of like get more reserved, and so a lot of that was like, are they gonna? I was a little bit intimidated running, and then when I got elected, I was like, oh my god, And I was actually the first time I ran was the first time I actually voted in a election. So I got to vote for myself the first time I voted.
That was the first time I voted too. In 2018.
Yeah.
Because I had been in the military and moving around, you don't know what state you belong to. Like the longer you stay in, the like less footing you have.
Yeah.
And then so when I came back to the States and I was like, oh, I'm going to New Hampshire. As soon as I got here, my whole family, we went and registered to vote.
Yeah.
And now we vote as, a pack.
Yeah.
Essentially, So it's nice to be able to do that. But I wish I could have voted, or I wish I did vote.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
I haven't missed a vote since 2018.
Hey, you know what? Like, that's good. I feel like a lot of people not in New Hampshire don't realize that politics are like our sports to us because we don't have many sports teams. Like we
don't have anything. We don't have Gillette.
UNH.
We don't have anything.
No, nothing. We only have UNH and that's it. Or like the SNHU arena. It's
that's an interesting point. I don't think anybody's ever brought that up to me since I've been here. You're right.
Yeah.
Politics is a kind of our thing.
Yeah. So when I made a lot of friends from out of state and, talking about politics is like an open dinner conversation for me that a lot of people don't have. It's like, it's an icebreaker for me. It's like, oh, what's your view on politics? What's your view on this or that? And I immediately have it to where.
Is that why we're so upset as a state for the First and Nation Democratic? Really?
That's why, because we viewed that as like a protected thing that we have because it's like, we don't have sports, man.
The whole time that discussion's going on, I'm thinking to myself, who cares if you're first? Right? Just pick whoever you want and move on.
Because we are first in a nation. We've always been first in a nation because we're the ones that set how the elections are going to go for the New England states.
Oh, that is a fascinating point. I wonder if Vermont feels the same way, right? Because they don't have anything.
Yeah, I mean...
Does Maine? Oh, I actually don't know.
Maine might have more like camping and like the outdoorsy stuff.
Oh, so they're probably all survival podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Vermont, I think it's more like the artsy type stuff. So
I love that. New Mexico was like that.
Yeah.
For us artsy people.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. We lived in Albuquerque for 2 years and we went to all the fairs.
Yeah.
So many creative, crafty people. And then you got the hot air. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the same with Vermont is what I found. Yeah.
Oh, I need to spend more time. My friend keeps telling me, like, you need to go over to Stowe, Vermont, where all the tourists are and stuff. And I do. I need to go over there.
Yeah. I go up to Thetford, Vermont for Girl Scout like leadership weekend. And it is amazing because at night it is no light pollution. We can actually see the Milky Way. Yeah. And it is absolutely beautiful. And like
I almost feel like it's the same way here, but I don't think I've ever seen the Milky Way from my
because of UNH, it gives off so much light pollution from like to the surrounding towns that it's really hard. But once in a while you'll like see the constellations and stuff.
UNH is that powerful? So I worked at a telescope. I'm sorry, I'm going on this, but this is so fascinating to me. Light pollution is so for anybody that maybe is watching or whatever. I had to work at the telescope. So you have Albuquerque, and then behind the mountain.
Yeah.
So you had to go like 20 miles or something. Maybe it's not that absurd. Maybe it's like 10 miles, right? Behind this like mountain. So you can't see Albuquerque's lights.
Yeah.
And it's the only way to get the sky so pitch black that you can actually do science with it. Yeah. And that is fascinating because I didn't know what light pollution was until that assignment.
Yeah.
And that's, oh my God. I'm a space nut. So.
No, you're good. I kind of am too with like the light pollution and everything about that because I'm like, when I'm moving down to Mass, I'm going to miss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's one big, huge to where I'm going to miss this.
When you go to the city, you lose all of the sky,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Wow. That's something you don't think about a lot.
No.
You know, I always lived in the city. This is the first time I've ever lived in, I guess you call this suburbs or whatever.
It's like a rural, like urban type. Yeah.
Yeah. We're like right on the verge of being in the sticks, but we're surrounded by 3 big cities. So it's, that's fascinating in itself.
And so it would, I just, I love going up to Vermont and just getting that like.
Vermont has such a different feel.
It does.
From New Hampshire.
It really does. And one of the things like with New Hampshire is that it's, like you can drive like 2 hours and still be in New Hampshire and find something new to do.
Is Vermont like very rural?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like very, very rural. Not like us.
No, it's more rural, I think.
If I'm not mistaken, we're almost the same size. New Hampshire has like 1.4 million people, and I believe Vermont has like 700,000.
Yeah.
Something to the tune. I mean, I'm sure somebody will check me and put it in the comments.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just like numbers, and so I've always kind of looked at those kind of things too.
Yeah. And our population is growing, but at the same time, it's getting older because a lot of the young people aren't staying.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about that on the show. It's sad because a state is built on young people.
Yeah.
Right. I had an interesting conversation and something I never thought about before until my last episode. Cindy had basically seeded this thought that young people vote against old people vote against young people. And I never considered that aspect, but I'd also never lived in a state that was skewed so old. That's scary to me. And I still can't shake the thought that, as old people are like, we're not funding the schools, blah, blah, blah. And they keep voting against the school budget.
Yeah.
And then when they're like, we need assisted living and we need blah, blah, blah,
with their hand out.
And the kids would be like, nah, and vote against them.
Yeah.
That is a really, I don't know if it's a dangerous spot to be in, but it's scary a little bit, right? When you start doing those kind of generational, yeah. Do you see that at all? Am I off?
A little bit, when it comes to some of the housing bills or any of the education bills, the older people, like older Republicans will vote it down because they're like, oh, we don't need affordable housing. We're fine. And it's like, yes, we do, because companies are buying up all these houses and then turning them into like apartments or duplexes and charging 3 times what they paid.
And the older generation already has their houses.
Yeah,
so why should they care, right?
They have their houses, not realizing that even if they, do all that, but also with the education, if they don't fund education, it comes back down to the towns and the cities. They have to make up that percentage. So the wider the gap, the more that the towns have to try and close that.
Yeah.
And it's like you're just making taxes go up. You're making everything go up.
I see the short-sightedness all the time where the older people, I don't want to just say old people because a lot of people feel this way. When I say old people, I'm really, I guess I'm calling like 30 and above, right? Because they're older.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not necessarily talking about just the elderly, but in general, you hear like, well, I don't have kids in the school system. Why should I pay that?
And it's like, well, it's going to come back to bite you and the taxes. And,
this is your community. You should love it. Like you want a full community, not like
a half.
Yeah.
Like Barrington already has to send their kids to Dover, Oyster River, or Cole Brown.
Yeah.
And they've always told us, even before like I went into the middle school, that, we have like that land is set aside to build a high school. And they've always been telling us that. They told me that in high school, I'd be coming back and finish high school there. And I'm like, oh, okay. I graduated from Dover High. They still haven't built the high school there.
Right.
Because they can't afford to.
And Dover High is a nice place.
It is a very nice place. Even now that they renovated, it's very nice.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've been over there recently where they're really tearing up all the fields and everything. I know this is inside baseball, but they're taking their school to the next level.
Yeah.
And that is so good to see.
Yeah. I mean, it used to look like a prison. What didn't help was the barbed wire fencing. But
that's always a turnoff when it comes to the retail property.
I've heard someone be like, oh, I thought that was like a prison or something. It's like, no, that's my high school.
Yeah, no, that's where they keep all the 14 to 18-year-olds. They're all locked up inside of there. I can see that.
Yeah, but like it looks really nice. Like one of the things that I liked growing up in New Hampshire was that you would have like barns in high schools.
Yes.
Most like I would talk to other people from out of state. They're like, what, you had a barn? I'm like, yeah, there was like, we had a cow, we had ducks, we had bunnies.
Wait, did you go through animal science?
Yeah.
My daughter did too. She graduated this year.
Yeah.
And she'd come home all the time and she'd be like, yeah, I was working in the barn all day. And I would make jokes about it,
Yeah.
And what an opportunity though.
Yeah. It's a great opportunity too, because a lot of the kids would go into animal science, whether it's farming or whatever. And it kind of like helps the community even more.
It's my favorite spot to go to on like parent night when you get to go through all the classes and you get to the barn, you're like, all right, this is different.
Yeah.
Because you don't see that.
No, you don't. And a lot of like the rural communities, they have it because it allows for them to go back into the community and be like, oh, I just, you see people selling their eggs on
all the time.
Yeah.
I can't drive a mile without at least hitting one egg stand here.
Yeah.
So I agree. That is crazy good though. I went through a trade school as well, and I always talk about it. But so to me, getting a trade when you're a young person is so
helpful. It
changes everything for your life, because you can't take that away.
No, you can't.
And
what's made me fall in love with film photography actually was in high school, and learning the process of everything. And it just kind of like, I would look forward to that class because I'm like, oh, I'm dealing with all these other classes. Oh, yay, I get to like relax. And it was very relaxing to me to learn how to do that process, to take the time.
Did you have somebody in particular influence you in that direction?
Definitely. Like I was always into photography. Since I was a little kid, my mom actually gave me like a little camera, like the Leapfrog camera.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I would take pictures. One of the pictures I still have in my portfolio was of the silverback gorilla in Walt Disney World. He was just sitting on the rock, just chilling and everything. So I took a picture of that, and it's still in my portfolio to this day.
Wow.
Actually, when I went to the first college I went to was NHA before it closed, was the head of the photography. I got to show him my portfolio, and he was like, I was told to take it out, and he's like, keep that in. You've been doing it longer. You started 2 years before I did it. You need to keep that in.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What's your favorite type of photography?
Like film, but if I have like a dark room and everything, I prefer film photography because I feel like it gets the raw. Like,
man, every time I see that, I'm thinking like that's like in a TV show. I've never seen anybody with a dark room.
Yeah, it is. If my goal is to have a dark room at some point, but it's you get to do the process and you actually have to like think about what you're shooting versus like digital or like on your phone. It's like, oh, I'll edit that later.
Yeah, I'll just have AI put me in or put me out.
Yeah, it's like you can't edit film. You can, but you can't. It's you can edit the way that the light will show. So we can do like a cardboard thing and just hold it right there as it's like developing, and then you put it through the develop, and then you can get like.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be able to do it, but I've never had the resources to get into that.
Yeah.
And so for me, I went to art class when I was like 14, right? So I pop into the art class and my teacher has Adobe Illustrator 1.0 on the computer. So, you know, the old computers, this is 1992 or 93, one of those.
Yeah.
And he can't do a whole lot, but he's shown me digital art.
Yeah.
And I became fascinated by it.
Yeah.
And so as I got resources, I got older, I went to school for that.
Yeah.
For digital design. And now I know Illustrator so well. That's my bread and butter. So talking to somebody else that's creative like this is fascinating to me, especially when you're doing it manually, like a darkroom and stuff.
Yeah. So like you can't edit the film strips itself, but you can edit like the photo when it's on the photo paper as much as you want. Like you can angle it a certain way, things like that. But once it goes through the development and everything,
it's locked in.
It's locked in, which is what I love so much about it, because it's like, this is the final version that I want.
Do you still do a lot of photography? Do you have time?
I do a little bit when I go like on vacation or somewhere. I'll take photos with my digital camera, but not film because I don't have like a dark room right now. But
can you wait? I actually don't know this question. Can you take a digital photo and then go into a dark room and develop it? No. Okay.
A digital photo has like an SD card type thing.
Yes.
And so that is like you just put it on the computer and upload it type of thing.
People are going to watch this and be like, look at these two nerds.
Whereas like a film, it's like you actually have to, so my camera is kind of like not exactly like an old school, but it's like in between the old school and a digital. So it's like an in-between type thing.
Oh.
So it has some things that the digital cameras have that the old school doesn't. So like I can wound my film with like a push of a button versus having to like hand crank it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I admire people. I admire people that can do photography and really capture those moments in life. Yeah. Because that's harder than a lot of people think. We just see pictures everywhere and we're like, oh, everybody can do that.
Yeah. If you actually look, because I know you're on my mom's like Facebook on like one of her different like photo albums is like a winter storm. Those I took myself.
Really?
Without editing. Those are how the sun hit everything. That's how the sky was.
Sometimes I get lost in those Facebook posts and I'm just thinking to myself, these are gorgeous.
Yeah.
How can I learn how to do this?
Yeah. So the photos on that album is actually how the sky was. I didn't edit it or anything. It looks like I edited it, but it was like a brownish tint to the sky.
Do you chase the perfect shot?
Sometimes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know people that have like the apps with like when the sun's going to rise and when it's going to fall.
I don't go that far. I just kind of like, I look and I'm like, oh, it looks really nice. And then I take a photo. Like, I got actually a zoomed up photo of a pleated woodpecker, and it actually drilled a hole into, because where I live, we have the power lines, and it got so deep into it. All you saw was like the tail feather.
Wow.
Yeah.
I actually didn't think woodpeckers were real. I grew up. I grew up watching Woody Woodpecker, and you know,
oh, that's just a cartoon.
Yeah, and then I go for a walk. I think it was probably like 3 years ago, and there was this little bird on the tree just pecking away, and I was like, "There's no way. This place is so cool." For the people that have never been to New Hampshire, I grew up in Connecticut. We didn't have any of this. And so, I mean, foxes walk through my yard, bobcats, bears, deer.
We had coyote at one point. We had a moose around the area. Once in a while, we get a moose from up north.
I've never seen one.
Go up to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
They'll have like moose hunting, but like they'll take, not like shooting or anything, but like they'll go out and look for the moose with like the big, huge lights.
Okay.
And like they call it moose hunting. It's not actually shooting. It's just looking for the moose.
Yeah.
They are huge and they are gorgeous and they are like big, huge cows basically. So they don't know that they are that huge.
Yeah.
And they don't know that they cause the amount of damage that they cause. So when you, years ago, my dad was coming back. It was before I was born, was coming back one time and there was like no traffic. They're like, what's going on? Moose is swaying on the highway.
Oh my goodness.
On like 93.
And you do not want to hit one.
You do not want to honk. You do not want to go around it. You just let it do its thing until it goes back into the woods.
Yeah. Like, that would be the worst. I've heard of devastating accidents with moose. And so if I see one, I will be stopping on 101, 93, wherever we are, I will be stopping or letting you go past. So that's interesting.
One of the Pittsburgh tends to have them the most because they'll tend to go towards like the salt piles.
Really?
They like the salt piles because they like to eat the salt.
Oh, they must all have high blood pressure.
The babies are really cute because they don't look like babies, but they're really cute. There was like one that I saw. It was like an old mall in New Hampshire that someone captured like a moose just running by the mall. It was a baby moose, had to be like juvenile or something. It was so cute.
And it's probably huge too.
Yeah, it was huge when it was a juvenile. And
yeah, we're at this part of the year where all the babies, like, so I went for a walk the other night and there was a bunch of little baby turkeys trying to like reach the berries on the tree. And I was just like, oh my God, they're so cute. I just want to pet them all, you know?
Yeah.
And we have deer that gave birth. So we have 3 baby deer, so one mom deer and one baby. And then there's another mom with 2.
Yeah.
And so I'll admit, I sit in my backyard smoking joints and I talk to them.
Yeah.
That's why they're grazing in my backyard and I have a little picnic table. I sit there and I just talk with them.
Yeah.
And one came out.
Wow.
One came out and it was like, hey, dude, I appreciate what you're doing. I got to go though. 'Cause this isn't what we do. So I got to go.
Yeah. We actually had a bear in its juvenile, like the mama bear in its juvenile in my neighborhood.
Wow.
Recently.
That is
like a month or so ago.
They're so awe-inspiring to like stare at. Like all my windows, I'm glued to them. I can't help myself.
We had bear footprints in my side backyard.
Yeah, we have a lot of bears.
Yeah.
But I don't know where they hide, but they do a good job.
Yeah,
I've never seen one in person.
We've seen a couple in person. Come to my neighborhood. During like the spring, summer, come to my neighborhood. They come out and just
I want to get one of those camtrail.
They actually had one put in.
Cams.
They had one put in actually in one of my neighbors' yards because they were like, "What's going on?" And
I watch all my neighbors put their footage up on Facebook, and I'm just like, "Oh wow, that's in my neighborhood." You know? I had a porcupine living underneath my driveway in the little like tube that goes underneath. I have groundhogs all over, or not groundhogs. I always call them that, gophers.
Yep, gophers. Yeah.
So anybody that's never been in New Hampshire, we are full of
all types of wildlife,
beautiful animals, wildlife. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a different animal to grow up in New Hampshire.
That's what I love about this place, though, because you don't get that from other states.
No, you really don't. I think that, like, growing up, it was going back to, like, the politics things. It was, like, talked about. Like, you would bring your kids to voting. You would bring, now in Barrington, I don't know if other places in New Hampshire have it, but they have, like, the kids voting.
Yeah, they do that here.
Yeah.
They do all the stickers, the I voted stickers, and they vote on, like, which ones, and then they get printed and handed out. Oh, yeah, all that's awesome.
Yeah, and actually, I know a couple people who work for the town, so they were showing, like, the new booklets for the town, and all of those on those stickers on there were designed by kids.
I just think it's such a great program, right? To get kids already thinking about voting.
Yes.
It's powerful. It's the only voice you have, really, other than protesting. So do you protest? I'm just curious.
Once in a while I will, but not so much because just because of how dangerous protesting has
I think that's real.
I think it's, like I'm having people tell me, oh, I'm bringing like tear gas, like mask and everything to protect myself. They're having like eye drops, water bottles to clear out the pepper spray, all of that. They're, having to protect themselves. Like one person showed me her literal kit for protesting. And I said, oh, I always feel bad that I don't get out and protest. She's like, this always sticks with me ever since she told me this like a year ago. She's like, you are doing so much more than what we can do right now by being in the State House. You don't need a protest. Let us take care of it for you.
That is kind of a powerful statement. Yeah. I think about that all the time. Not everybody can build a house. Yeah. Not everybody can do this one job. We all kind of have a role in society.
Yeah. And so I always think people that are out there protesting like Kent Street. Oh my God, Kent Street, holding their signs, all the creative stuff that they do outside the State House is awesome. I love it. And they have been so helpful when it comes to like the child marriage stuff. They've been out there, whether it's hot, whether it's like freezing cold, because it has been freezing cold during winters. It's like they're there.
Yeah.
Holding signs out front, making sure that they have signs saying, we love you, Dems. We love you, people that like voted with us,
I want to talk to them so much. I handed them my card at the convention.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that we can, get together.
They actually gave us like little bottles of like maple syrup that one of their people made.
I've heard nothing but great positive stories about Kent Street. So
they're awesome group of people. And I
almost feel like we have a lot of that here in New Hampshire.
Really do.
Going back to what you were saying about we take political,
I feel like a lot of groups kind of like formed in New Hampshire because like they just saw something and they needed to do it, like Moms Demand Action, the Women's Domestic Violence Coalition, things like that, where they have, New Hampshire's very unique where we actually don't have like metal detectors. We don't have any of that because it's the people's house.
That's scary too, right?
It can be scary because there are times where they actually told us during one of the, this is like the first year where we actually had drills for like an active shooter, fire drill, anything like this. So they literally told us, the head of security said, do not be a hero. Do not try to take down the shooter. Let professionals deal with it. Because they know that they do have like gun locks in the State House, like where you can lock up your gun instead of leaving it in the car. Because some people will leave it in the car. Or one person a few years ago had it in her waistband and it fell down on the like floor in front of kids. It was during a
It's lucky it didn't go off, I guess, right?
Yeah. So it was.
Has there been any issues at the State House? I'm not aware of any.
The only closest was, I think it was earlier this term or the term before, where like two Republican reps were like almost in a fist fight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Inter-party violence there.
Yeah. So like I was standing at the time and I kind of like moved towards the back. And they were starting to fight. But I was directly like across from where like
Were they fighting over like a 16, 17-year-old girl?
No, they were fighting over a bill because one of the leadership people were voting with us. And one of the Free Staters did not like that he was with us on that subject.
Oh.
So they were like, but they just got at it. They're like traitor, all that type of stuff. So,
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't think my joke will go unanswered, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's some of the reasons for like their reasonings was crazy. Like they were like one rep, he got clipped by saying, oh, it's been on the books for 100 years. Why do we need to change it? And it's like 100 years ago was very different than it is.
Oh, there's been some good clips.
Yeah.
That one that went viral nationally about young women are fertile.
Ripe and fertile.
Ripe and fertile.
That wasn't even him testifying on the House floor. That was a question. That was a question that he asked.
I mean, I only giggle because I really just don't understand how you get through that. Like as a full grown adult, a male, that you have spent your entire life around other people, that you would make that comment.
Yeah, I had after like the second time, like, or no, it was one of the first, I think it was the first time that the bill went up and it went viral because like so many people voted it down, Republicans, Democrats. One of the Republicans, his daughter was a reporter.
Yeah.
And actually was just like, why did you vote this down? And he was backpedaling so hard.
Yeah.
He was just like, well, I didn't know. And she's like, you just allowed for child marriage to continue in New Hampshire.
It was just insane.
And his daughter called him out on it.
She should. My daughters, excuse me, would completely disown me if I did any such behavior.
Yeah, and it's like we've come into this society where it's some people are like, oh, we've been doing this for so long. Oh, it's not a thing to we need to change it, and they're both fighting the same.
Which is insane. Let's set this up for people that maybe don't understand what we're really talking about. So you go in, I'll just give a recap, correct me if I'm wrong. You come in at 19, you get elected, you're like, I want to ban child marriage. You try for it like 2 terms, you get it on your 3rd term?
No, this was before I was even elected.
Well, I mean the bill though. You wanted that for a long time. But I'm saying
for the bill, yeah. It was brought in by former rep of Barrington, Jackie Silly. I reached out to both Len Turcott and Jackie.
And Jackie's great.
Yeah, Jackie reached out to me. Len Turcott still hasn't responded to me.
And he won't. He won't.
And so so she reached out. I met her at her house where we met up in the office. Because they have their own like family business. So we met upstairs in the office and I showed her my research and she's like, okay, I want you to look up the reasons what kids can't do until they're 18. And a lot of it is very like mundane. Like you don't even think about it. Like the Disney Channel website, Nickelodeon website at the time, all these websites, the library, you can have a library card till you're 18, you're underneath your parents. Of course, like a car or anything like that. But like some of like the kids' websites, you have to be like a parent has to sign you up for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can't do until you're 18.
Yeah, and so it was just find the list. And then she had me reach out to other state reps to talk to them about it. And so once I talked to them, they're like immediately on board. Some of them I'm still like friends with today. So it's...
I mean, these are good people.
Yeah.
And I don't, I like them too. I think Jackie is such a great resource. She's a wealth of knowledge. She's helped out so many people, during her time. So,
So, she helped me get started with it. We brought it, like, we want to raise it to 18 and then it was indefinitely postponed, which means it can't be brought up for 2 years. So then we brought in, okay, let's raise it to 16. Because age of consent and everything. And a lot of people were like, oh, okay, age of consent. So they agreed with it. Then we got on like 2 other bills to kind of piggyback on them. One of them, I forget what it was, but the other one, it was to allow for more judicial discretion when it comes to these things. Because I mentioned when I was like first doing everything about this couple who were from New Hampshire who got married and their parents allowed it. The judge who approved that marriage came out and said, I did not have any guidelines. I did not have any, like, anything to go by. So we gave them guidelines. Like, look, you got to interview them. You got to have them interviewed by a child psychologist or, like, CPS or something. You got to interview them. You got to have, like, separate them from their parents, separate them from the adults in the room. Because if you take the kid away from the adults, I don't know, like... Growing up, when your mom doesn't want you to misbehave in public, she grabs your hand.
Oh.
That's what they would do to these kids. They would grab their hand underneath the table and be like, gotta do what I'm telling you to do. So they would have to separate the kids from the adults.
That is scary.
And get that interview with the kid and be like, do you want to be married to this person? And get like full in-depth. And then it has to be like a certain number of days afterwards before the marriage is approved.
When you say that, I'm thinking, what kind of mental state do you have to be in as a parent to want your child to be married as a child?
There's a lot. Most of it is motivated by money. So a lot of it, they're in that dire, like, I don't have any money. I can't afford my kid. then this guy comes around and be like, hey, I can give you some money for this kid. And next thing you know, they're off being.
You're basically selling your kid.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. There's sometimes where the kid is like, oh, I fell in love with this guy, and the parent doesn't see anything wrong with it.
My mom got married at 15. And so this is an interesting topic for me. I was born when she was 17.
Yeah.
And she had 2 miscarriages before me. And it was, I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing this. It's been, almost 50 years.
Very good.
But this is real because, I mean, she was a child.
Yeah.
And she probably at that point, if I had put myself in her shoes, had no idea of like what was going to happen or what was going on.
No, my great-great-grandmother on my dad's side was married at 16 to a 49-year-old man.
Holy cow. No, I'll change that. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was very abusive verbally, we think. We don't know. Not many people are around that remember, but my grandfather, the way I put it is I have a grandfather and then I have a grampy. My Mimi divorced my grandfather because he was very abusive. He was very like...
Good for her.
Yeah. So he was told by the judge, you hit the wall, you don't hit her, like he was given that speech. So she met and married my grampy, and they both were like soulmates. And actually, like, I want to say within the 6 months that my grampy passed away, she passed away of like a broken heart.
Wow. I hear about that a lot.
Yeah. So like so when she divorced my grampy, my great grandmother was just like, I still think of you as a daughter, because she knew who her kids were. They were exactly like their father. They were exactly like, what she's used to. But at the time, you didn't divorce.
Yeah. Back then, it was a big stigma.
Yeah. Even my Nana, when she was married at 16, she was told that it was annulled in the church, as far as we know. But his parents said that we would take care of it. Not really. And they never did. We found out later on that he never was truly divorced from my Nana.
Yeah.
That's why his ex-wife divorced him, because she was just like, you're still married to her. They actually...
they just got divorced through the church?
Yeah. Which wasn't... Or like I don't know how it was, but all of a sudden, like, we're like, did they get divorced? We still don't know if they're fully divorced or not.
Well, it doesn't sound like it.
No.
It sounds like you have to go in front of a judge and get a stamp and date it and go see the clerk. And
yeah. So it was a lot of people, if you go back into your family, you would see a lot of child marriage, because the age expectancy was like 40s.
I guess 50s. I can understand it. I have from that perspective.
Yeah, you can understand it, yes. But at the same time, it's still happening today. And you're like, why is it happening today?
Right. We should not have that today.
No. And it's still happening because of culture. It's happening because of religion. It's happening because of human trafficking.
Yeah, we have a lot of that to deal with at our national level, I think, in the future. So
actually, that's one of my biggest things was... a lot of how people are coming over the border is some of them are actually using marriage visas to come over the border. So the U.S. There was a bill to stop that, but then the leaders talked and the heads of the committee were like, oh, we'll talk to the leaders at border control. And it was just like, that's not going to do anything. So there's rumors about another bill coming forward. But
I saw one yesterday. Yeah. There was some stuff going on, so I don't have all the information on that.
I know Tahiri Justice Center is like mainly like the head of like trying to do all that.
Do you hear from anybody at the national level because of what you've done?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. So when they come around, because First in the Nation, so they come around and I'll actually ask them that question.
That's a great question to ask.
I'm like, do you support banning child marriage across the U.S.? And they are taken aback because they don't expect it.
How many states still have child marriage?
Quite a few.
Is it? I thought it was only like 3.
No, quite a few.
It's far more than that?
It is quite a few. California has no age limit. They're
California?
yeah, they have no age limit.
Wow. I actually, wow.
There's
I would think they would fix that before any
Anything.
of the other progressive stuff that they've done, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
But with that still being on the books or not on the books, that's scary.
Yeah. A lot of the states do have it at 16, with like 18 being a lot of the states have like majority 18. It's the exceptions where it gets the loopholes. So New Hampshire was 18, but it was 13 for girls and 14 for boys.
Wow.
For Massachusetts, it was 12.
Oh my God.
They just changed it a couple years ago to 18.
I hope that any grown adult that marries a child, I hope they have a very hard life. And I hope that it's just terrible. You should never do that to another person.
But it's, a lot of the victims, I have victims still reaching out to me who I'd be the first person to tell their story to. They haven't told their kids. My Nana's one of them. She hasn't fully, before she passed away, she told me a little bit of the story, but we know there's more to it.
Yeah.
But I was the first person that she told even the most of the story.
That has to be such a huge weight to hold, like hearing all these disturbing stories and just putting them inside your head.
It motivates me to end it more.
Good.
Because I'm like, I don't want this happening anymore.
I'm thankful for what you're doing and other people are doing as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we need this movement.
Yeah.
That's the only way that our children can actually have a childhood.
Yeah. And, a lot of these girls and women are leaving their kids behind with these abusers.
Oh.
A lot of them haven't seen their kids. They can't see their kids because they're either in like cults or they're in whatever, they're in the process of, escaping, that.
So this is your 8th year and this is your last term. I know that. But how long? Wow, I'm drying up. Your stories are kind of making my hair stand up a little bit. And how many years did it take since you started in the legislature to now? How many years did it take for this bill to get passed?
Since I was 15, about 10 years.
And you got so much pushback, even after it passed.
I still get pushback. I get pushback all over the country. It depends. So like in New Hampshire, it's Republicans. Other states, it's Democrats. Sometimes it's religious leaders. Sometimes it's people who don't know me. They're like, why are you doing this? I
expect the answer to be no, but did anybody ever give you a good reason why they should be able to?
No.
That's the correct answer. No, that's the correct answer though. Yeah.
They think of it as a good reason, but I don't see it that way.
Yeah.
We have a difference of opinion when it comes to it.
What's like the top thing that people come up with? Yeah.
Military.
Ugh.
Because they should be able to, like, if they get pregnant, they should be able to have benefits, which the military is cracking. As far as I know, last I heard, they were cracking down on it. It's the military, so things kind of change quickly, but
I can't think, and this is anecdotal, I'm only one person, but I personally did not run into that when I was in the military.
Yeah.
I got married when I was 19.
Yeah.
She was 19, I was 19.
You were both consenting.
I got married on my 19th birthday. And I still wasn't ready.
Yeah.
That should not have happened.
Yeah. So they're talking about like the 16, 17-year-olds with their 18, 19-year-old boyfriends or girlfriends, and the 16, 17-year-old gets pregnant. What are the benefits? And it's like, I've looked at the UCMJ. I've looked at the benefits that you get if the military member declares that child as theirs.
Yeah.
They get the benefits.
Yeah. They go into the DEER system.
Yeah,
and
everything,
all of that.
And if they are 16 or 17 years old, they're either on state insurance or they're underneath their parents.
Yep.
So they get their medical. There's prenatal vitamins at Walmart for like under $20, maybe a little bit closer to $20 now, but at the time it was like under $20. And it's like, there was no excuse. They try to always say that I'm like pro-abortion and everything. It's like, no. This is not about pro-abortion. This is about making sure that the child, like the 16, 17-year-old does not have to marry because of pregnancy. It's not.
Absolutely.
Because it's not the same conversation that it was back then. Oh, you're pregnant, you have to get married. It's you're pregnant, you have options, you have adoption. If you want to keep the child, you can absolutely co-raise that with that person.
Sure.
You do not know that person as well as you think you do when you were 16 or 17 years old. Like a lot of people, if they remember like their first relationship, you're like, why was I with that person? You know, because it's called puppy love for a reason, because it's very cute, it's very nice and very sweet until reality hits. And
no, it's
and looking back as an adult at that relationship, you're like, that was definitely not what I thought it was.
No, it's going to be a very lopsided relationship.
You know, either one person feels too much, one person feels too little.
Yeah.
You know, and you're still trying to figure yourself out with your hormones and everything else. You're like trying to figure out college, you're trying to figure everything else out. And it's like the last thing that they need is to be like, okay, I'm pregnant. I now have to marry this person that I barely know.
And then you got to raise that child in that environment.
And you don't know what the other person's values are.
Absolutely.
You know, when you have a child with someone as an adult, you align your values together.
Yeah.
But when you kind of are like last minute, like getting married because you're pregnant, you don't know that person's values. Next thing you know, that person sees themselves as, oh, I need to control. I need to... What happens a lot with the child marriages is they become a very different person than what they thought they were.
Yeah. Well, I mean, never mind under 18, but just from 18 to like 25, a person changes so dramatically, right? Your growth plates stop, your brain finishes the third phase of development. Your hormones actually level out. You see acne kind of go away. Like there's so many like indicators of that development.
Yeah. And you're still like, by that point, you're like, okay, this is kind of where I want to be in life. Whereas like that 16 to like 17, you're like, I have no idea what's going on. You know? So to add marriage, pregnancy, all of that, it's like the last thing that you need is to put two people who have no idea what's going on in their life with a baby together and force them together. It's like you can co-raise if you really want to keep the baby.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go right ahead, you know. You know, my personal beliefs should not impact people on how they should
Sure. I want people to live their lives. I want them to be happy. I want them to do it. But I also want them to be on solid footing.
Yeah. You know, you want them to understand the full aspect of the decisions that they're making.
Yeah. And I think outcomes really matter.
Yeah.
You know, when it's our community, I don't want teenagers being pregnant and not having a life, right?
Yeah.
Because they're a baby raising a baby.
And
then, you know, for the rest of the community, you got to have a social safety net. You got to make sure that child's good. You got to make sure everything's good.
Yeah.
And if everybody's having pregnancies in 16, 17, getting married, I don't think
that's going to be a good footing.
Yeah. And I don't think the community is going to be in better shape, you know, because that person probably needs a lot more resources than somebody that has a good foundation.
Yeah, because then they'll be going with the HHS. They'll be going into those like New Hampshire Medicaid, Medicare, all of those like resources, which actually New Hampshire with like the teen pregnancy rates, we're number 51 out of 52 in the states. We are on the low end.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Number one, like...
that's a stat that you got to brace yourself for because it can go either way, you know?
Yeah, we're actually number 51 out of 52 states for the teen pregnancy rates.
Okay, that's good.
So we're pretty low. So that argument is like out the door.
Yeah.
The military thing, we don't have any active base in or around New Hampshire. Pisa is no longer active.
Yeah.
It is now just housing and like commercial mostly.
And the shipyard is in Maine, technically. That's a sensitive spot.
That's a sensitive subject because it was built right in the middle.
I just like triggering people, being like, "Oh, you mean the shipyard in Maine? Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. So like,
it's in New Hampshire.
So it's like we don't have any like active military base where there is like people doing drills or anything in or around New England.
As a military retiree, I can't think of any situation where a 17-year-old or lower would need to be married into the military at all. I don't care if your partner is deploying or anything like that. What happens if they die? Well,
they can actually leave their benefits to whoever they name.
Yeah, you can. They tell you everywhere you go, like make sure you update your forms. Make sure you update your life insurance, make sure you know who your beneficiaries are.
It like seems very annoying, but like
it is, but
it's needed.
There's a reason for it.
You know, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, they'll go right with them with housing. It's like, you are in basic training.
Yes.
You are at the lowest end when it comes to housing.
Yes.
There is no room for spouses in the barracks.
No. And if we catch wind that there is a spouse in the barracks, there's all of a sudden an inspection tomorrow, if not this afternoon. So, yeah.
It is like there is no spousal housing until like you have to be approved for it. And that takes a long time.
Yeah.
And so it's like, where are these kids, where are they going to go?
Yeah.
And what happens if they get deployed? My mom remembers this one girl, she was newly married, didn't know how to cook or anything. Her spouse went off and he was supposed to be expected back on a certain day. He was delayed because, you know, military, it comes like that. He got her McDonald's burgers frozen enough just for him for when he comes back.
Oh my God.
She did not have any food for like a week. She went to like the spousal meeting.
Yeah.
Crying in tears. The pastor was just like, what's going on? What's wrong? It took them like 30 minutes to get it out of her that she didn't know how to cook. She didn't have any food.
When I got married at 19, we got base housing. I mean, at that time we had a lot of it. So we were able to move in about 2 weeks to a month or something like that.
Yeah.
And she got pregnant, and about a month or two, I can't remember that. All right. So forgive me on the timeline, but we get married in May, pregnant in June. I get deployed September-ish, October-ish. I go to Prince Sultan Air Base. We just turned 19. She's pregnant. She doesn't drive.
Yeah.
We just got into base housing, so we have almost no furniture.
Yeah.
I like scraped together $600 and bought like some used furniture, so she had something.
Yeah.
And they were like, "You're leaving for 4 months." I was like, "Okay." And I can remember being 19, saying goodbye to my pregnant 19-year-old wife.
Yeah.
And I'm crying on the way to the airport in the back, just keeping to myself. It's dark. It's 4 a.m.
Yeah.
My boss picks me up. I throw my green bag in the back of the truck and we head towards the airport.
Yeah.
And I just remember some tears flowing through because I have no idea if I'm coming home. I have no idea what's about to happen.
No.
I've never been deployed.
Yeah.
And they extended me 2 more months. So I ended up being there nearly 6 months.
Yeah.
I came home a week before she gave birth to my oldest.
Yeah.
And she had no support. She had
nobody,
really nothing. And it was, and we were over the age of 18.
Yeah.
And it was that stressful.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine a 16, 17-year-old being in that situation, sitting in base housing, waiting for their husband or wife or what, you know. Can I ask, how often is it an older woman and a younger?
It happens. It's not often. It's mostly an older man with a younger girl.
Okay. Because I don't want to assume. I don't want to just be like, it only happens this way, you know?
We say both because it can happen. But most of the time, they tend to catch it when it's the older woman with the younger.
Really?
Yeah. They tend to catch that more.
Is that because of societal expectations? Because we hear a lot about like teachers getting caught, you know, more than female teachers tend to go to national news where the males are like, well, you know, boys will be boys kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the whole,
That's awful.
Yeah.
I want to make sure people understand. I do not.
It's gross and it's disgusting, but it's kind of how society has become of like, oh, boys will be boys, girls, like you got to correct for the boys. Hence the reason why we have the school dress codes.
Yeah.
If you look at a lot of them that haven't changed, I couldn't wear this. I couldn't wear my shorts. But going to high school, I saw more guys' underwear than I did my own.
That's wild.
Like
Yeah, I guess we do make exceptions
Yeah.
for the boys.
Luckily, I had a female vice principal, and she would catch the boys and be like, "Can you pull up your like pants? Like, just pull them up, find a belt. Like,
I don't want to see your ass crack or your underwear or anything like that."
And some of them would layer the underwear because they wouldn't want to show their friends. Like,
look at my boxers.
Yeah,
check these
and it's
out.
like,
I just got them.
And it's like, you're worried about us showing our shoulders.
Such a weird.
And like our bra straps and everything. And it's just like, okay, first of all, if they are getting like thinking those thoughts, it's on them for having those thoughts, not us.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't put your own thoughts on other people. Like, I can't believe you made me think that. Oh, how could you?
And it's like, I had a friend who had like, I don't know if you remember like the Hot Topic, like they would have the character dresses.
Oh, yeah.
And she had one, it was, I forget which character it was, but it was appropriate. It was like long enough past the knees. It was like the thicker straps. And she was still pulled to principal's office to put on like a sweater or something.
Really?
Because it had shoulders.
Is New Hampshire just more conservative? Just in general, this isn't a political question.
No, I think it's just the schools all across the U.S. I think schools are just more conservative because they're trying to like, a lot of the school dress codes haven't been updated.
Yeah.
So a lot of it really, if you look at some of the school dress codes for the schools, a lot of them are very much targeting the girls versus the guys. There's like one or two things where it's like, oh, you can't wear a baseball cap. You can't wear like derogatory, like slang language on t-shirts. Whereas the girls, it's like no spaghetti strap. Your shorts have to be a certain length that has to like go past your
I mean, I can understand to a certain degree, but like if people are just wearing character dresses and stuff like that.
One girl, she had like a long skirt on, but because the slit was a little bit high, she was sent home.
What?
Yeah, like one of those like flowy long skirts, but because the slit was open, they sent her home.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I lived in the South for several years.
Yeah.
And the South has that, you should look like this. You should look like a perfect student. You should be ready for class. Think about what Jesus would dress you as, and then you go to school. But I always felt like New England had that more of a freedom to express yourself.
It does and it doesn't.
It's an interesting take because somebody once explained to me like the Puritans and why New Hampshire is the way it is because the Puritans settled the state or something to that. Yeah. And it just stuck.
Yes and no. Like sometimes, yes, when it comes to like societal things, like you'll notice that a lot of people are like, oh, don't air your like dirty laundry out for people or anything like that. But it's at the same time, we got to push those norms of like talking about it,
That's interesting.
Yeah. So one of my biggest things is I tend to like to push subjects. Yeah. Like I said earlier, when it comes to like talking about politics, I leave it right there on the table and let it sit. And just like first time I'm meeting someone, I'm like, okay, what's your political view on this? And they're like taken aback from like other states. And it's like, whoa. And I'm like, it's normal, but it's...
I kind of do the same thing because I'm trying to figure out, is this person aligned with me? Yeah. Are we going to have a good conversation? Is this going to be contentious?
Or do we only have to stay on the subjects of cats and dogs,
Yeah, right. And that's very real.
Yeah, it's a real thing where one of my biggest things is I want to be more... Like, I think we need to talk more about things that we don't normally talk about. Like, I was recently diagnosed like 3-4 years ago with PCOS and polycystic ovarian syndrome. They changed the name like multiple times, but it's basically it's very painful. It affects like your whole everything. Like there are some days where like I can function just fine. There are other days where it's really hard for me to get out of bed and like put clothes on. And
is there treatment for this?
Birth control is the main push for it. Other is like you kind of gotta like work out and like get into like a routine. Most of it is just like hormonal. So trying to balance everything out.
So like a little bit of lifestyle, a little bit of medication maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hope they can find a way to cure so many of these things.
Yeah, it's for me, I'm not like the typical PCOS patient. So their testosterone levels are really high, so they will have like facial hair and like body hair that guys will
Oh,
have. So like some of them will get like chest hair, some will get like a beard.
yeah.
For me, it's mostly my uterus and my ovaries.
Okay.
So like I will be in more pain around my time on the month. So I'll be in more pain. I will be more sluggish. We get hot flashes. We get, all of the.
That sounds terrible. I'll be honest. How many is this kind of like a common thing, or is this like a very rare thing?
It's more common, and the more that you talk to people, or like you're like, oh, I have PCOS too, and you're like finding more people have it. I think endometriosis is a little bit more rare, but it still happens.
Oh.
Endometriosis is more painful than PCOS, but because endometriosis, you're in pain all the time, whereas PCOS, you're only painful around your time in the month.
Pain is so hard to deal with.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm in pain all the time from my conditions, and that is a very difficult thing to.
So like my migraines are like I can't be around light. I have to be in full dark, covering my eyes.
Wow.
Because if even a little bit of light, I will get it. My migraine is like.
So that's your struggle.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
There are some days where like I was at the state house and I had to sit in like we have the back where it's like where the press sits and everything, and it's a little platform. I had to sit back there like because I would either have to move around or I couldn't stand or I couldn't sit, and the chairs are just too low and I'm in like the second to on the end, so
Oh my goodness.
so it's like
So you got to deal with all that, and plus you're there 3 days a week usually, probably like all day, so that's just weighing on you.
Yeah.
You must be excited to kind of like finish what you've done up there at the State House and then kind of move on to the next chapter.
I am, and I'm not like I'm gonna miss it.
Which parts do you think you'll miss the most?
The camaraderie with the people that you sit with.
Yeah.
There are some people where I've sat with where I'm still friends with them.
Oh, I'm sure. After all those years, yeah.
Yeah, like some of them are actually coming to my wedding, so
that's fantastic.
Yeah, and some of them I haven't seen because they've left, but it's like they're still coming because like Chuck Grassie, he used to give me a ride and everything. He's coming.
Chuck's awesome.
He's awesome. I love him. Tells so many great stories. He was actually like the principal's office when it came to like the State House stuff.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he's just so involved.
Yeah, he gets really involved, and for anybody to get involved with politics and want to know what it's like to run, go ask him, because both him and his wife have ran for state rep.
Anne's great too, yeah.
They would swap running for state rep. Now she's in like the school board and getting involved with that, but they're both like their families are so involved with politics, and it's like
and Chuck he's the only one that's been on this podcast twice now, and for good reason, because he is such a wealth of knowledge, but he's also a huge cheerleader for everybody.
Yes, he is. He will tell you how. Like, if you have a question about, like, what the State House is like or what running a campaign is like, he is the best person to ask.
Yeah.
He will joke with you and everything. And so whenever, like, a new person would ask me, I try to, like, channel, like, his, like, wisdom, what he taught me into them. Like,
we still have decades to achieve that. Oh my goodness.
Like, one of my biggest things was they wouldn't tell new reps that they would become part of the county delegation. Like, some counties, they don't tell them.
I had no idea. Yeah. I had no idea when I was running I would have to do that.
That's a secret that they like to.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame them.
And I like telling people because I'm like, you know what? You need to understand like the full aspect of what it's like, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's like volunteer work. I only have to go in a certain amount of time. It's just like, nope. It depends on your committee. It depends on the county level, because
Yeah.
You have the county level, and then you have the committees at the county level.
For $100 a year, the state gets its, I would say a pound of flesh, but it's more like a metric ton of flesh. Like, we're just going to take it all.
I actually get paid more going to Dover than I do up to the Concord.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how little. I don't talk about this much, but I'll say it again because somebody the other day didn't know that this was a thing.
Yeah.
John Kuiper sued the state to pay our reps and our Senate last October 2025. I have no idea what the follow-up is on that. I don't know if it's still going.
You have to do a, it's in our Constitution.
Yes.
So you have to do a constitutional amendment.
Yeah.
In order for us to get paid more, which we would then have to reduce the amount of people in the state house.
Yeah, we've had this conversation a few times, and every time I have this conversation, it just scares the shit out of me, and I don't want to have it because I've had everybody from like, yeah, we can cut down like 400 to like maybe 200, and I'm like, oh, we could probably work with that. Like that's but then I've heard some people say we just need like 12 reps, and we're good, and I'm like, what?
No. That is like what other states do. And it's like one of the unique things about New Hampshire is we have so many state reps because we have floterials. We have the people from like multiple towns, like Barrington, we have like 3 reps.
Yeah.
Because Barrington's so big. And then we have Strafford and we have our floterial position.
There's so many moving parts.
Yeah.
So many people.
There is.
And that's how we get those 1,000+ bills every year because there's so many people trying to make a splash, I guess you could say.
The Senate hates to see us coming because we put in like so many bills.
Yeah.
And they're like, you got to stop.
Yeah, because there's only 24 of them. Yeah. And they can only sort through so much.
Yeah, they're put on like multiple committees. They actually created the Children and Family Law Committee because Senator Pat Long was coming in, and he was on the Children and Family. We served together.
Yeah,
and he was the biggest advocate. Like we would have guys would come in and be like, "We don't want to pay alimony," and he was one of the biggest people who would say, "You need to pay alimony." And he used to work construction where he would work with these guys who would try to avoid paying alimony, and he was just like, just pay it. Pay child support. He would work with the people. So it was good to have him on that. Like he was a new perspective of that.
And I get that position. You know, a lot of people, they're hurt. You know, you go through divorce, your whole life, your whole world has just been burnt down to the ground.
And you're like, now I have to pay them.
Yeah. And then you feel, dirty because maybe, she or he, cheated or did something terrible and like ruined the whole experience for everybody. And then they're upset because they got to pay.
Yeah.
I paid my child support. I did it for 18 years. And I did it with a smile because those are my kids.
Yeah. It's like those are your kids that you're paying for. And with like alimony and everything, a lot of it comes from that your spouse, most of it's the wives, they leave their careers.
Yes. They're fully invested into raising those kids and doing what they're doing. They're doing it for the greater good of the family.
And then you like fall apart, you get... on the Children and Family Law Committee, so many people want to be on, and then they're like, oh, what's it like? What's it like? And it's like, this is the hardest conversations that we have.
Yeah.
We are dealing with the worst part of someone's life.
Yes, the lowest points.
It is, you are divorcing the person you thought you would spend the rest of your life with.
Yep.
And then on top of it, you have kids who now you have to deal with how you're going to deal with that. And then we deal with DHHS, DCYFs, all of those. One of the biggest stigma is that, they just want to take my kids away.
Yeah.
That is the only time they take your kids away is if it's unsafe in the home for the children. If you cannot support your child in a safe environment. Like if they find drugs, alcohol loose everywhere, they will take your kids away.
Yeah.
If you show them that they have designated like playroom area or, even if it's just like a little corner in your apartment or something where it's dedicated to them, they're like, okay, this may be like...
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to separate kids from parents, right? Because that you have that bond. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff that goes into when that happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of like consideration. It takes like even the people doing it, they're like, we don't want to. You
know what always drove me wild is the cannabis stuff.
Yeah.
Like growing up and being an adult, I've heard this probably more than any other thing. I can't smoke. I can't manage my pain. I can't be a medical patient. I can't do XYZ because if my child smokes or smells it or my neighbor smells it, they're calling the cops. They're calling,
CPS and all that. Yeah.
They're calling everybody. I'm losing my kids.
That's a real fear.
That is a real fear?
Yeah, because a lot of I think it stems from the gummies and stuff look like gummies.
Right. And your kids accidentally ingest it.
And they're putting, if you watch any of the medical shows, they'll have the kid overdose around Halloween or something. And it's that fear. And I think it just needs to
that's a shame because those adults probably need real medical help.
Yeah. But it's
at the cost
of
having your child live with you.
Yeah.
I
think we definitely need to have when it comes to marijuana, the bills that have come up, you would see in my history, I voted them down.
Yes. And we've talked.
Yeah. It's not because I don't support medical marijuana. I absolutely do. When it comes to treatment and everything, it's mainly for the recreational use.
Right.
There's no regulation for it.
And I can understand from that point of view, right? We're trying to keep everybody safe, but we're also trying to manage everybody safely.
Yeah. With the medical, you're underneath the doctor's care. You're checking in, they're checking in on you and everything. Yeah. When it comes to recreational, there's no regulation.
And that's hard.
Yeah, it's hard to regulate it too, because it's how do we...
You can't just go into everybody's house. You just can't monitor everybody like that.
And it's not like alcohol where you can count how much,
Yeah.
And so it's really hard. So I've always supported medical because it's a little bit easier but when it comes to recreational, I'm until we figure out a way to do it, there's just no way. And then they're oh, well, we can treat people that with addiction with marijuana. It's you can and you can't. They are on some serious hard drugs.
Yeah.
Marijuana may help some people when it comes to the lower end of the drugs and stuff.
It's an interesting subject, and I know I didn't mean to spring this on you, but
this is the conversations that I have. Actually, my future brother-in-law and my fiance's cousin were actually having these table conversations where they're trying to pressure me. So, and I'm I can take it because I do these type of things.
But I mean, you have these conversations on a regular basis with people from all spectrums, I imagine.
But my thing is that my family, I come from a family of addicts.
Yeah.
If they want to get clean, they will make that decision. You cannot push them into that decision. They have to want to get clean.
Yeah.
I have family who are I had to draw a line with them where I'm unless you are clean, unless you are actively pushing towards getting clean, you can't come to my wedding because I don't want that around me.
Yeah.
I never had it around me.
And I think that's okay.
Yeah. To have that line. And I grew up with my parents telling me and open and honest with the conversations with about my uncles, about my cousins, and all of that. And it's
addiction is really hard.
It is hard.
And this episode just happens to be right on the back of one of the hardest conversations.
Yeah, it's opioid crisis.
Yes.
And it's we had doctors prescribing it without really realizing what they were prescribing.
Yep.
Because the pharmaceutical companies were hey, look, this pain pill will make your patient's pain much more manageable.
Which is true.
It is true, but they didn't tell them
the cost
of the addiction.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I believe in, which a lot of people don't, is addiction runs in families. It's an addictive gene almost.
Yeah.
Where you can have addictive personalities run in families. So I actually have hand tremors and everything because of family passed down of alcoholism is so we actually traced it back to when my family was in Quebec when they founded. So the king of France would send prostitutes or orphan girls, mostly orphan girls, up the river, and each one would get married off to a family. And depending on how close you were to the end of the river, you do not get the pretty girls, so they would drink in order to
Oh, wow.
stand the not so pretty girls.
Oh.
So alcohol runs really deep in my family, alcohol addiction. And then you add into the drugs and everything.
So I can understand from your perspective why you would grow up and have these kind of thoughts and values and stuff like that. I'm very lucky. And this isn't for everybody. Whenever I talk about medical stuff, I feel like I have to say, I'm talking about me.
Yeah.
You go talk to your doctor.
That is up to you.
You need to get a professional to help guide you.
Yes.
But for me,
this is what works for me, you know?
My ADHD is so bad that it doesn't allow me to get addicted to anything.
Yeah.
A perfect example. I used to drink all the time. Like when I was in Korea, I would drink 30 plus beers a night and just go to my bed and black out and then do it again the next day. And I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
And then one day I was just like, I just don't want to do it anymore. And then I just stopped.
Yeah.
I just
and then
stopped.
You didn't have like any of the,
No. I chewed tobacco for 17 years.
Yeah.
And one day I woke up and I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And I just stopped.
Yeah.
Cold turkey.
Yeah. Some people, it's like that.
Yeah.
They're where they can quit on the spot. Other people, it's like, it takes a toll on them, like where they feel the withdrawals and everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's.
Amazingly enough, it actually applied to opiates as well.
Yeah.
So I was on morphine sulfate for 4 years.
Wow.
And Oxycontin in there where I couldn't get the morphine.
Yeah.
So that was a replacement. And I had cut myself when I moved here one day on a glass and I didn't really feel it, but I still had to go down to the emergency room and get like stitched up.
Yeah.
And while I was sitting there in the urgent care waiting room, I was like, I don't think I need this anymore because it's making me numb and kind of like eating at my brain.
Yeah.
So I cold turkeyed it.
Yeah.
I cold turkeyed morphine basically that day. And I told this story before, but for 2 weeks, it just felt like I had magma going through my veins. I would just be in tears, not crying, but tears from the pain.
Yeah. And
I'd put a little stool in the shower and I'd sit on it and just let the hot water run on my back for like 45 minutes until like, I could and these are hard stories.
Yeah, but
not everybody
goes through that.
Can just say, oh, I just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of addiction where it's very hard for me to, because my brain just says, let's move on.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I could do. So,
yeah.
I don't know how many there are of me, but there's probably a lot more people that are just stuck on addiction.
Yeah. They're, family members are seeing it and it's like, we've had to cut off family because they were like, we need money, and it's like, for what? Like,
and I never did anything like that. I never tried to hurt anybody. I was just trying to deal with my pain. I had some really big issues coming out of the military.
Yeah, which nobody talks about either. It's like the military, they'll send you, like, they'll treat you when you're in, but when you're out, they're like, you're on your own. It's
hard unless you have a good VA and you have a good doctor that you trust. And right now I've had in the last 12 months, I've had 3 different doctors that I just don't know. I don't feel comfortable with sitting in the room because next month Pete Hegseth is going to fire another one of my doctors or Doug Collins or whoever does it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My dad's like in between doctors at the VA, and it's like people don't realize that when they're telling them like, oh, we're going to cut at the VA, it's like you're cutting a doctor for a veteran that they are learning how to trust.
Yeah, I had my doctor for 7 years, and then when Donald Trump became president again for the second term, she was gone.
Yeah,
with a lot of other people. Yeah. Like I think I read something to the tune of 300,000 federal employees, which includes the VA, has been let go. That is an enormous pocket of workers that don't exist working in those jobs anymore.
Yeah. And when a lot of people, when they hear these cuts, they're like, oh, it's not that bad. And it's like, imagine this. You go into your doctor's office with the doctor that you've known for years.
Right. Knows what my blood pressure is on a regular basis.
Knows your pain management, all of it. And they're gone.
Yeah. All for the sake of We just need to save money for rich people to get tax returns.
Yeah, and it's like
I don't want this episode to turn into that because I could probably talk on that for hours. But these are the things that do apply to all of us in different facets, you know.
Yeah, and when it like the biggest argument with child marriage is the military, and it's like what happens after.
Yeah.
Because there's like this book, and I forget the name of it, but it was sent to me. A lot of people send me books and stuff just to read, and they were like, oh, I thought this would be a good read for you. And one of it is like a military spouse, but her perspective, and it's like a group. The author took like multiple stories and turned it into one. And basically, you're learning how, yes, the military member is learning how to be a member of society again, but the spouse is learning how to support their spouse.
Which is so hard.
It is, because you're dealing with PTSD. You're dealing with, if they lost their limb, you're dealing with that.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the PT. You're dealing with the ghost pains.
Yep.
You're dealing with the factor that they don't know. Like my mom, she had to basically help my dad find a job afterwards because he didn't know what to do.
I still don't know what to do. February will be 10 years since I've retired, and I have not worked.
A lot of them don't know what to do, and they don't know how to.
Yeah.
And
I say not worked. I haven't had a regular 9 to 5. Like a lot of people.
Yeah, and they don't teach you how life skills in the military. They teach you how.
No, they don't.
They really don't, because their insurance, they pay for, everything's paid for.
Well, it's a very socialism type of like entity.
Yeah.
Right? I can go see the doctor.
It's all free, which is really great.
Yeah, I think everybody should have that.
Yeah. I learned about all the different types of government in high school. And, whenever I hear people like, oh, socialism, communism, it's just like, they're really great things to have on paper.
Yeah.
It's really great on paper. When you add people into it that are corrupted, yes, they do corrupt.
Yeah, people will definitely take advantage of that. They'll abuse that.
Yeah, I mean, first thing that you think of communism, you think of the Holocaust and Hitler and Stalin and all of that.
It's always the go-to.
Yeah, it's always
extreme situation. Yeah.
But it's like, if you look at communism and socialism and all of that, it's like the military is socialism. Everything's free.
Yeah.
You basically are like, show your badge, show your identification, and be like, I'm here for like full head to toe, like check me out, like probe me, whatever, and everything's, you walk out with no bill.
My favorite thing is people saying, the government is terrible at doing what it does. No, it's not. It's extremely good at what it does.
It's gotten to point where it's like a really good system. The problem is you add bad actors.
Yeah, but you get that everywhere, right?
You do.
Like, I mean, even in Congress, you probably have a ton of bad faith actors up there.
Oh yeah, you probably do. And it's like you're always, if you're looking for the bad actors, you're always going to find them.
100%.
You're adding humans into a machine, basically. Yep. And it's like, there's going to be some bad people. Yes, absolutely. You have to be smart on who you elect.
Yeah.
Which is why I like always promote like voter education.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, you want to know who you're voting for.
And most people won't, because they just don't have the time that they look at, right? They're like, I'm working all day. I can't come home and like read up about like what Cassie's doing up in Concord,
Yeah, but it's like that's why I do like Facebook posts. That's why you do like social media and everything, because it's like when they're on break, they see it and they're like, oh, yeah, that's what's going on.
Well, that's exactly why I do this, because my goal is I'm hoping that somebody can't sleep at like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and they're like, let's see what's going on. They see my green thumbnail, be like, I don't know, let's see what this is. And it's an interesting conversation. And I put them to sleep,
Yeah, and
and hopefully teach them something too.
Like a little like podcast ASMR type thing. But it's like, all we really have to do is like show people, okay, so this is who you've been voting for.
Yeah.
This is who you're voting for. This is what they voted for. And this is how it affects you. And this is...
Do you think that actually works? Like those report cards that, some candidates will go around and be like, see, this is your current rep and this is what they voted for and we grade them a D. Does that work in your opinion?
I think it does and it doesn't. Like for the Democrats, it does because they're like, oh, look at what Cassie's like. I was actually, my biggest favorite grading was like one of the Free Stater ones. I got voted a, what was it? Oh man, it was, I got lower than an F. I got a constitutional threat.
Wow.
I was labeled a constitutional threat because I voted the way that I voted, which was against their... But it's like, you know what? If you think that having education for our kids, funding people having the right to choose what they decide for their own bodies and all of that, and affordable housing and healthcare for all is a constitutional threat, then yes, I will happily take that title. That is like my favorite title. But at the same time, like other surveys, they tell us when we're running to take these surveys.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, you need to take that survey. You need to take that survey.
You're talking about like the Ballotpedia and those kind of things?
Yeah. Those are really great when it comes to like people that are involved in politics. Like they'll pay attention to those. But like for the everyday person, they're not going to pay attention to those things.
I didn't fill them out when I ran.
Yeah.
People were like, what do you mean you're not filling that out? I'm like, because the people I need to vote for me aren't going to read that.
Yeah.
Right? There'll be like a handful of people, but those people already know where else to find my opinions. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And after a while, like it got to the point where I'm like, I really don't want to fill this out.
It's a burden.
It's a lot because it's like we have to send that in. It's like online thing. There was one where I was one of the few people in New Hampshire where I got it, where it was like this women's organization all across the U.S. I was maybe out of all of the ones across the U.S. or like in New Hampshire, I was like one of 10, maybe less, that got it. Like there was like 5 or 7 of us that got it from like a sponsorship from that organization. Like those things, yes, because like there are people that will follow those organizations and stuff, like the teachers union, things like that. Those I'll fill out, but like some of the ones where it won't affect close people.
Yeah, just leave that alone.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not gonna.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Like, it's such a burden, but also I guess a good thing for people that don't know you. Like, oh, this is how this person's gonna vote. But I just felt like if you were gonna vote D, you were gonna vote D.
Yeah,
you know.
For the people that are independent, I rather go and talk to them.
Me too.
Yeah. Like I had one guy who had like a flagpole and he was a vet, and I tell this story all the time, but he was just like, do you see that flag? And it was like a Trump. I'm like, yeah, but I'm here to support everybody. And then by the end of the conversation, his like son walked by and he grabbed him. He's like, she is like 23 years old. You are older than she is. What are you doing with your life?
I mean, that's a fair question, right? I mean,
like she's running for state rep, doing all these great things. What are you doing?
Yeah, I actually had a lot of those people talk down to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I would have people who would be like, no, I'm not going to vote for you. And I'm like, oh, okay, bye. And then like leave. Like, I'd rather leave on like a happy.
Same. Yeah. Why would you leave angry, right?
I get upset over them not voting for you.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they're not going to vote for you no matter what. Like, I have some Republicans in my neighborhood who know me, who vote for me.
Yeah.
And I have some Democrats who won't vote for me. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's your opinion.
It's such an interesting way how people see the people that are running, right?
Yes.
Because as soon as you put a sign in the ground, you're now an enemy.
Yeah.
Or you're the best friend that we've ever had. So it's
and like I get mixed opinions, and you know, I see so many people being like, oh, I didn't get any of I know like any votes or anything, and I'm like, breathe.
Yeah, breathe.
It's fine.
It's gonna be just fine.
You're elected. Breathe. You're fine.
Yeah, not everybody's gonna like you.
No.
I mean, even on these episodes,
Yeah.
I get all kinds of like crazy comments. You know,
putting yourself out there, you're not gonna get. You're there's always gonna be someone who's not gonna like you.
it's the cost of being political.
Yeah, it's you're putting your opinions out into the world, and it's like you can agree with me or not.
Yeah,
And I'm okay with that.
I think it's a good spot to be in.
Yeah, because I'm like, the people that agree with me, I let into my circle.
Yeah,
The people that are in my circle, I know agree with me, and I know are line.
Yep. My
for a
circle's
reason.
very small.
Yeah, I only let certain amount of people in my
Yeah.
circle, and it's because I know that we align on the same values.
Yeah, we gotta have like complimentary vibes in order for you to come over and hang out with me. But as soon as you do, we're good. We're locked in,
And it's like I'm very cautious about like letting people in for a reason.
Me too. I in the past, my door was open to anybody that wanted to be a part of it. And after a number of like just big disappointments, I've had to really calm that down.
That's why I don't endorse people.
It's probably a smart thing to do, right?
I endorse like Mark Brave. I endorse, these people, and it's like bit me in the butt.
Yeah, that one that you just mentioned is a big one.
Huge.
Yeah.
I endorsed
everybody thought he was going to be solid.
Yeah, and then he wasn't, and then they didn't do a background check or anything. And I'm like,
nutty.
yeah.
That's your sheriff.
Yeah. And I'm like, you didn't do a background check?
Yeah. And I'm not going to tell the whole story about Mark Brave. So if you want, Google it, and it's fascinating. Yeah.
It's out there. But I also when the presidential was around and everything with Cory Booker, there was a whole bunch of Democrats running. I endorsed Cory Booker. I still love Cory. He's awesome. I've
never met him, so I don't have, I really don't have an opinion on him.
You definitely want to meet him like in person and everything just to get an opinion about him, because just the way he answers people's questions and everything is very different than most politicians.
I try to go by their voting record more than anything else. Yeah. Because I feel like 9 out of 10 times I'm going to get along with somebody.
Yeah.
But
it's the voting record.
When I see the voting record, that tells me everything I need to know about that person's values, and maybe there's a story behind those votes, right? Maybe there's like, oh, well, I voted this reason, this way for this reason.
And he's like the type of guy that will tell you.
Yeah.
He's very upfront about it, and so like I endorsed him.
Yep.
That was fine. And then he backed down. And then I was just like, oh my God, who am I going to vote for now? And then the Bernie Sanders people were like, oh, come see him. And I'm like, for me, I liked Bernie, but I felt like his people pushed him up more than he did himself.
I see.
So then I went and saw Elizabeth Warren. I'm like, okay, we align a lot. Like she's more moderate, like I am. And
so you see more Elizabeth than Bernie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because as like a moderate myself, like I'm more aligned with her values and everything. And so when I said, oh, I'm endorsing Elizabeth Warren, the Bernie people were like, oh my God, how can you not do Bernie? Like he's awesome. Like they were hating on me.
Bernie bros can be insufferable. I was kind of a Bernie bro, so I get it.
Yeah. But it was like, I had people being like attacking me that like I thought we were friends.
That's like, rough.
Yeah.
I don't want to attack anybody.
No. And it's like, one of my biggest thing is like, I do like Bernie and I do like his values, but it was like, they were doing the whole house metaphor and like it burned because of Trump and everything the first time. And it's like, oh, we got to build up and everything. And it's like a lot of the moderates, including like Elizabeth Warren and all of us were saying, look at the foundation.
Yep.
When you're building a house, you look at the foundation. If there's a crack in the foundation, you got to seal it. You got to fix it. And the Bernie people were not listening to us.
Do you have any progressive like bones, leanings, anything that in you? Do you
a little bit like when it comes to like women's reproductive rights?
Yep.
Definitely more progressive when it comes to that, because I'm like, I'd rather have like Planned Parenthood is amazing what they do when it comes to the amount of like abortion they do is like 5% of what they do.
Yeah.
It's mainly like healthcare.
I don't even think, is it 5%? I thought it was even less than that.
I think it's even less than that now.
Yeah.
At the time it was like 5%, but it's like less. But it's like they help men, they help women, they help trans people in the community, they help LGBTQ people in the community. And it's like the amount of stuff they do is like huge. So it's like I'm going to be like, do not end their funding.
We need that.
Yeah, we do. And it's I've always said like I'm right to choose. Like you can choose what to do with your own body and everything, but it's like my values are definitely like more leaning towards that, mainly because of like I've seen the best show to watch is called The Midwife. That will open a lot of people's minds when it comes to like abortion, because around that time abortion wasn't legalized. So like one of the characters, like spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen it, her aunt would give a back alley abortions.
Oh God, that's devastating.
Yeah. And she didn't know. So it's like very shocked to have like one of the nurses find out that her family member is giving like back alley abortions. And it's like people...
Such a dangerous thing.
Yeah, it is.
We've heard the stories.
Yeah.
Like growing up, I've heard about the coat hanger stuff and how many women lost their lives and everything else. And
it's like if a woman does not want to have a child, she will find a way.
Yes.
And it's like that is what the reality is when you decide to overturn Roe versus Wade or anything like that. And like I see people who, when that got overturned, people celebrating. I'm like, you do not realize that the stakes that women will do in order to get rid of an unwanted pregnancy.
Yeah, and charging them for murder is not going to help.
No, because that will make them do it more secretively.
Yes.
Because it's like, it is the best way that I've seen like pregnancy, like it explained and everything is a fetus. It's a fetus. Like, when you're talking, sorry.
You're about to get some really bad comments.
When someone's at the end of their life, they're on life support and everything.
Yeah.
They can have their heart beating and everything.
Absolutely.
What do they check to see if that person is no longer alive? The brain.
Yep. Right up here.
The fetus can have a heart.
Yeah.
But what makes a person,
consciousness,
which
Absolutely.
They don't get until down the road.
Yeah.
Which by that point, you're not going to abort that baby because you want that child.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when someone has like a late term miscarriage or like a stillbirth and they're, next thing you know, it's like, what are they going to be charged with? Murder?
Yeah.
It's like they wanted that child. They named that child. They made a nursery. They've planned for that child.
People don't understand how big of a like
huge.
People think that we're just having bus rides to the thing,
abortion clinics,
and everybody's like, have party streamers and hats on. They're like, we're doing it. It's nothing like that. It's very dark.
It's a serious mental decision that you have to make to whether or not you want to keep that child or not. And it's like.
I'm a firm believer that is between a woman and her doctor, and her partner. If they,
I wouldn't come to a cancer patient's treatment, be like, stop that treatment because I don't believe in it.
Oh, that would be right. Oh God, just thinking about that. Yeah, no, you're right.
It's the same. Like that person does not want that child, mainly because they're either not financially responsible yet. They have thought it over and been like, I don't want it, or they were either raped,
right,
or they were either whatever.
Yeah, there's just so much that goes into that conversation.
Yeah, and it's a conversation that they have internally.
Yeah.
It's an internal conversation that they have with themselves.
I'm sure it's agonizing.
Yeah, and it's like I am like, that is the one like few progressive things where I'm like,
yeah,
very much supportive of right to choose.
When I first met you, I remember distinctly we were at the yard sale. Oh, no, that wasn't when I first met you, but like that was the first time I I had an audience with you.
Yeah.
And I was sitting between you and your mom or on the side or somewhere. And I was asking you questions because I was feeling out like your progressive or moderateness.
Yeah.
And you were great.
Yeah.
We had a conversation. We've had a lot of fun since then. We campaigned together. We did a lot of stuff together.
Yeah. There are definitely some people that are more progressive than me.
It's not a competition.
It's not. It's not, though, because we're all fighting the same fights.
Yeah. I want to talk to people because we put labels on people like, progressive and stuff like that. But I'm looking for people that care.
Yeah.
I'm looking for people that want to change the community in a positive way, that want to take care of the people. That's what's important.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to somebody that's going to come in here and tell me how much the corporate tax rate is too high and we need to start thinking about our. Yeah, I'm just like, stop. Stop what you're doing because you're not talking about people.
No, because when it comes down to it, the people are the people that put you in power.
Yes.
And it's like the amount of power that the average day person has when it comes to that, people, they don't realize.
Right.
It's like you decide who runs our country.
Which is a big deal.
You decide who you put in charge of your state.
Yes.
Which is huge. And I've seen some of the people at the state, and some of it's very scary.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
I've seen the videos.
It's very scary. Like some of the younger people going in, like, yes, like the young Republicans, yes, they may have like some really great things, but it's like some of the stuff that they believe in, I'm like, I do not align with you.
And that's okay.
I can't. Like, I was over at Dartmouth and we were just having like conversation and they brought up like libraries and I'm like, yeah, I really like enjoy libraries there. And one of them turned to me and was just like, well, libraries are political or politicized. And it's like,
which is nutty.
And it's like, because you make it political.
Yeah. Not everything has to be political.
No, child marriage, they made it political.
Which is crazy because anybody should be like, oh, 16-year-olds getting married? That's bad.
I've talked to both sides of the aisle. I've talked to independents. I've talked to Republicans. I've talked to even some free staters, which is crazy.
Yeah, I wouldn't talk to them.
I talked to far left Democrats, moderate, like everybody. And they all agree the same thing. Don't have child marriage.
Yeah.
It's certain people that make it political.
Which is dangerous.
Yeah. And it's like the only way, the problem is the only way that we can change it is by laws.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, and people that are willing to write those laws and enact them.
Yeah.
I have one more question and then we'll we'll get towards the end of this.
Yeah.
I've literally, this has been such a great conversation so far. But as you finish up your fourth term, which is really impressive, and you go on to do bigger things with your life, like what's next for you?
I have no idea. I'm hoping to get more back into the activism side of it.
Oh.
And just trying to become an activist that way again, because that's what I started out as.
Anything in particular? Or just in general? Just let me at it.
I think just like women and children's issues, I definitely want to focus on like the child marriage still.
Okay.
Because I feel like I've gotten into like too much politics into it, but I definitely want to go into like the child marriage aspect and also women and children's issues.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so many kids now, like with the education cuts, the book bans and everything, they're like being reduced to the small box of what they can and can't do.
Absolutely. And you have so much political knowledge and information behind you. You could probably do so many different things.
Yeah. I mean, like it's something like I really am focused on like in the state house is like anything with women and children's issues, but like that's mainly what I want to.
I'm so grateful that you ran for office at 19 and that you did what you've done. Yeah. I don't know that there would be other people that would do the things that you did. So to me, being one of your constituents, thank you.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people, it takes one person to step up.
It really does. I think people lose fact of it just takes one to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
I want to give you the last word for the episode. If there's anything that you want to say, send a message to young women that might be wanting to follow in your footsteps, or whatever it is that you want to put out to the world, please.
Yeah, I think that if you want to run, if you want to, fight to end child marriage in your own state, or just get involved in politics, go right ahead. Because all it takes is for you to make that step, and there's a path for you. You're breaking like the quote unquote like glass ceiling, and for the next generation, to show them like, this is what I did, this is what I am doing, and this is why. And just being able to put your foot into that is amazing, and you will always have support. You will, through all over the country and all over the world, there's like women standing by you who are cheering you on. Even if you feel down, like there's always going to be someone to cheer you on.
You have a legacy in New Hampshire now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I am forever grateful.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Yeah.